welcome. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Or, I might show up at your door. I'm just here to share some creepy stories, so sit back and enjoy. Disclaimer: the content presented in the video is purely for entertainment purposes only. The theories and stories discussed in this video are speculative and are not supported by any evidence or proof. Viewer discretion is advised. Deep Level Research Station Omega Emergency Log Entry. Date: October 17, 2024. Time: 14:22 Greenwich Mean Time. Reporting Officer: Dr. Salira Vaughn, Emergency Response Coordinator. Classification: Routine Monitoring. The coffee tastes like metallic sludge at 400 feet below ground, but it's the tremor readings that really wake you up. I've been logging seismic activity at Station Omega for 18 months now, and the patterns today make no geological sense. My shift started at 0600 with the usual routine, checking atmospheric processors, reviewing overnight automated reports, calibrating the Deep Earth Monitoring Array. Everything normal. The facility hums with its familiar mechanical breathing, air recyclers, pressure regulators, the distant thrum of the geothermal generators that keep us alive down here. 5 levels of reinforced concrete and steel, buried beneath the Montana wilderness like humanity's deepest secret, which, knowing what I know about this place, it probably is. The first anomalous reading came at 11:47. A sharp spike on the seismograph, registering 2.3 on the Richter scale. Nothing unusual there. We get minor tremors weekly from natural settling. The Yellowstone geological zone creates constant background activity. But the depth reading made me double-check the equipment. Source depth: 600 feet below facility foundation. I called it in to systems engineer Vera Sable, a sharp-eyed woman from Chennai whose accent becomes more pronounced when she's frustrated. Salira, the calibration was perfect this morning. If the sensors say 600 feet down, then something happened 600 feet down. Vera, we only built to sublevel 5. That's 380 feet maximum depth. I know what we built. Her voice carried that particular edge she gets when people question her technical expertise. I'm telling you what the seismograph recorded. The second tremor hit at 12:15. Same depth, same sharp signature. This time I was watching the display directly, could see the wave patterns in real time. The impact originated from a point 220 feet below our deepest level, in solid bedrock that shouldn't contain anything capable of generating seismic activity. That's when I started the emergency log. Security Chief Brevin Crow stopped by my monitoring station around 13:30, his usual patrol route bringing him through environmental control. Brevin's the kind of man who looks comfortable in underground facilities. Broad shoulders that fill doorways, steady hands that never shake even when the generators kick into emergency backup. He spent 15 years in deep reconnaissance before taking this assignment, though he's never explained what deep reconnaissance actually means. Anything interesting on the scanners today, Doc? His question seemed casual, but Brevin doesn't do casual. Every word he speaks serves a purpose. 2 significant tremors from impossible depths. I showed him the readings. Either our equipment is failing, or something's happening in areas that shouldn't exist. Brevin studied the data with the focused attention he usually reserves for security briefings. What's your professional assessment? Geological settling doesn't create precise point source impacts. These readings suggest contact. Something striking the bedrock from below with considerable force. Contact. He repeated the word like it tasted familiar. I'll increase monitoring protocols. Anything else unusual today? Before I could answer, Communications Officer Alice Thorne's voice crackled through the facility intercom. All senior staff to Communications Bay. We're receiving some unusual electromagnetic readings. Alice handles all our surface contact, satellite uplinks, emergency broadcasts, the delicate dance of staying connected to the outside world from our buried position. She's younger than the rest of us, barely 30, but she understands radio frequencies the way musicians understand harmonies. If she's calling us together, It's serious. The communications base sits at the heart of sublevel 3, surrounded by enough electronic equipment to run a small city. Alice stood before a bank of monitors, her dark hair pulled back in the tight bun she wears when concentrating. Research assistant Dareth Quill was already there, his notebook open and pen moving rapidly across the pages. Dareth documents everything, a nervous habit that drives the rest of us crazy but proves invaluable during genuine emergencies. I've been tracking electromagnetic anomalies for the past 2 hours. Alice began without preamble. Low-frequency emissions, subsonic range, originating from... She paused, double-checking her readings. Approximately 600 feet below facility foundation, the same depth as my seismic readings. Could be natural, Dareth suggested, though his tone suggested he didn't believe it. Underground mineral deposits sometimes generate electromagnetic fields, not in these patterns. Alice manipulated her controls, and speakers filled the room with a low, rhythmic thrumming. Listen to the frequency structure. It's too regular for geological processes. We stood in silence, letting the sound wash over us. The pattern repeated every 47 seconds, a deep, resonant pulse that seemed to vibrate through the facility's structural supports. It felt almost communicative. How long has this been active? Brevin asked. Started at 11:45, roughly 2 minutes before the first seismic event. Alice met my eyes. Whatever's generating your tremors is also producing organized electromagnetic signals. The thrumming stopped abruptly at 14:07. Complete silence from the deep sensors, as if someone had thrown a switch. We waited, but the readings remained flat across all monitoring equipment. Dareth broke the silence. Should we report this to Surface Command? Report what? Brevin's question carried weight. Unknown seismic activity and electromagnetic anomalies from impossible depths? That'll get us a psychiatric evaluation and early rotation topside. He was right. The official protocols required clear evidence of genuine threats before escalating to Surface Command. A few unusual readings didn't constitute an emergency, no matter how unsettling they felt. We monitor and document, I decided. If the activity resumes, we'll have baseline data for analysis. Alice, maintain passive scanning on all frequencies. Vera, run full diagnostics on the seismic array. Dareth, compile everything into a preliminary report. And if something's actually down there? Dareth asked quietly. I looked around at my team, 4 people responsible for monitoring humanity's deepest research station, for people trained to watch for dangers most of the world couldn't imagine. We'd signed contracts knowing this assignment carried risks beyond the standard underground hazards. Equipment failure, structural collapse, medical emergencies far from surface help. But the contracts never mentioned what we'd do if something was looking back at us from the deep places beneath the earth. Then we find out what it wants, I said. At 14:21, as I finalized this log entry, the seismograph registered another impact. Depth, 580 feet below facility foundation, 20 feet closer than the previous readings. Whatever's down there, it's moving up. Deep Level Research Station Omega, emergency log entry. Date, October 17th, 2024. Time, 22:14 Greenwich Mean Time. Reporting Officer, Dr. Salira Vaughn, Emergency Response Coordinator. Classification, Security Alert Level 2. The 1600 hours surface contact never happened. Communication array failure according to Alice. Equipment malfunction, she said, though her hands shook when she ran the diagnostics for the 3rd time. 27 years of reliable satellite uplinks don't just stop working. Not without cause, but that's getting ahead of myself. Let me document this properly, while I can still think clearly enough to maintain scientific objectivity. The seismic activity resumed at 15:43, stronger than before. I was monitoring the deep sensors when the first major impact registered magnitude 3.1, originating from 560 feet below foundation, 40 feet closer than the previous reading. The pattern was becoming unmistakable. Whatever was generating these impacts was moving upward through solid bedrock. Vera joined me at the monitoring station, her tablet loaded with geological surveys and facility blueprints. "Salira, I've been reviewing the original excavation reports. The drilling stopped at 380 feet for a reason." "What kind of reason?" "The kind they classified above my clearance level." She pulled up subsurface charts, pointing to a notation in the deep strata data. "Look at this. Survey Team Alpha encountered geological anomalies requiring specialized assessment at 420 feet. They sealed that section and built the facility on the upper levels only." Geological anomalies. In my 18 months here, no one had mentioned geological anomalies. "How specialized?" I asked. "Specialized enough that the lead geologist requested immediate evacuation and refused to continue deeper excavation." Vera's voice dropped to a whisper. "His final report is still classified, but the equipment manifest shows they brought in xenogeology specialists." Xenogeology, the study of geological processes involving non-terrestrial materials. My doctoral thesis had covered extremophile organisms in deep earth environments, but xenogeology implied something far more significant than adapted microbes. At 1615, the electromagnetic anomalies returned. Alice called us back to communications bay, her face pale under the fluorescent lighting. "The signals are stronger now, and they're different." She activated the speakers, filling the room with low-frequency pulses that seemed to vibrate through our bones. But this time, the pattern had evolved. Instead of the regular 47-second intervals, we heard complex rhythmic structures, short bursts followed by longer tones, pauses that felt almost conversational. "It sounds like..." Dareth started, then stopped himself. "Like communication," Brevin finished. He'd been standing near the door, but now he moved closer to the speakers. "I've heard similar patterns in military intelligence work. Signal repetition, frequency modulation, structured intervals. Someone's trying to establish contact." "Someone," I repeated. "You mean something." Brevin met my eyes. "I mean exactly what I said, document." The signals continued for 37 minutes, growing more complex with each repetition. Alice recorded everything, her equipment capturing nuances our ears couldn't detect. When the transmissions finally stopped at 1652, the silence felt heavier than before. "Surface contact attempt in 8 minutes, she announced, beginning the standard communication protocol. We gathered around the main console, watching her work through the satellite uplink sequence. Everything appeared normal, signal strength optimal, atmospheric conditions clear, encryption protocols active. But when she initiated contact, the response was static. Pure, undifferentiated white noise across all frequencies. "Equipment malfunction," she muttered, running diagnostics. All systems showed green. "Let me try the backup array." More static. "Emergency frequency?" Static. "Hardline to surface station beta?" The landline was dead. Alice tried everything, alternate satellites, different frequency bands, even the old shortwave radio system maintained for absolute emergencies. Every channel returned the same result. Communication with the surface world had been severed. "Could be solar storm activity," Dareth suggested hopefully. "Electromagnetic interference sometimes disrupts satellite communications. For 8 hours straight?" Brevin's skepticism was evident. "Across multiple systems, including hardlines? That's not solar activity. That's deliberate disruption." At 1830, the seismic readings spiked again. Multiple impacts now, originating from various depths but all moving upward. I counted at least 6 distinct source points, coordinated in their timing but spatially distributed across a wide area beneath the facility. "They're surrounding us," I said aloud, the words escaping before I could stop them. "They?" Vera looked up from her structural analysis. "What makes you think there's more than one?" I pointed to the seismic display, showing impact patterns across a quarter-mile radius. Single geological phenomenon doesn't create simultaneous activity across multiple points. This is coordinated behavior. Coordinated by what? Before I could answer, the facility's emergency lighting activated. Red warning strobes began flashing throughout Station Omega, and the intercom crackled with automated alerts. Detection system activation. Sublevel 4. All personnel maintain safe distance from structural perimeter. We rushed to sublevel 4. Our footsteps echoing through corridors suddenly filled with crimson emergency light. The detection system, motion sensors, thermal imaging, acoustic monitors, had been triggered by something in the facility's deepest accessible level. The thermal display showed multiple heat signatures moving through areas that should have been solid rock. Large shapes, human-sized or bigger, following paths that existed only in three-dimensional space our blueprints didn't account for. Tunnels, Brevin said grimly. Someone's carved tunnels through the bedrock. The detection system's been active for 6 hours. Vera read from the status display. Why are we just getting alerts now? Alice checked the communication logs. The system tried to contact Surface Command automatically. When that failed, it defaulted to local alert protocols. She paused, studying the data. But look at this, the thermal signatures started appearing at 1420. Almost exactly when our surface communications went dead. The timing was too precise for coincidence. Whatever was moving through the deep tunnels had the capability to disrupt our communication systems, either through advanced technology or some form of natural electromagnetic interference. At 2015, we heard the first sounds, not through the monitoring equipment this time. Direct acoustic transmission through the facility's structural supports, rhythmic scratching, like massive claws against metal and concrete. The sounds came from below, somewhere in the sealed sections beneath sublevel 5. Drilling, Brevin identified immediately. Something's boring through the foundation. The scratching continued for 47 minutes, accompanied by a low harmonic resonance that made our teeth ache. When it stopped, the seismic sensors showed new activity at 340 feet depth, just 40 feet below our deepest level. I've spent the last 2 hours reviewing everything we know about this facility's construction. The classified sections, the geological anomalies, the xenogeology specialists. The pieces form a disturbing pattern. Station Omega wasn't built as a research facility. It was built as a monitoring post. We're not here to study deep Earth phenomena. We're here to watch for something specific. Something the government has encountered before. The electromagnetic signals, the coordinated movement patterns, the systematic approach to our communication systems. Whatever's down there demonstrates intelligence, organization, and detailed knowledge of human technology. Dareth made the observation that's been haunting me since the sound stopped. If they can bore through solid rock, why haven't they come up already? What are they waiting for? I think I know the answer. They're not waiting. They're preparing. The scratching has resumed, closer this time. 3 distinct locations now, all converging on sublevel 5. The thermal sensors show heat signatures massed just beyond our structural perimeter, holding position like an organized force awaiting orders. At 2207, the seismograph registered impacts from 280 feet depth. They'll reach our lowest level within hours. I'm implementing Security Protocol 7, facility lockdown, emergency rations distributed, all personnel armed with available defensive equipment. Brevin's breaking out the weapons locker, though he's warned us that standard ammunition may prove ineffective against unknown threats. The electromagnetic signals have resumed, more complex than ever. Alice believes she's detecting response patterns, as if our equipment is somehow answering the transmissions automatically. The facility's own systems may be compromised. Whatever built those tunnels, whatever's been sending those signals, whatever's systematically isolating us from the surface world, it's not randomly emerging from the deep places. It's coming for us specifically. Deep Level Research Station Omega. Emergency Log. Dr. Salira Vaughn. Date. Redacted time. 0623 hours. Facility status. Security alert. The hole wasn't there yesterday. I've triple-checked the maintenance logs, construction blueprints, even the original geological surveys from 2019. Nothing explains the perfectly circular breach we discovered in Sublevel 5's Eastern Storage Corridor at 0547 hours this morning. Diameter 1.2 meters. Depth extends beyond our portable light range, at least 15 meters down into solid bedrock that shouldn't exist. The edges are smooth as polished glass, with a faint iridescent sheen that reminds me of abalone shell. When I run my hand along the rim, there's no tool marks, no blast residue, no heat scoring. Whatever created this opening did so without traditional boring equipment. Crow thinks I'm overthinking it. Construction crew probably forgot to document some utility access, he said, adjusting his sidearm. But construction crews don't bore perfect circles through reinforced concrete and granite substrate. Construction crews don't leave behind the residue I found. The sample is in my portable analysis kit now, viscous, amber-colored fluid with the consistency of industrial solvent. Preliminary chemical breakdown shows organic acids at concentrations that would dissolve human tissue in minutes. More disturbing, microscopic examination reveals what appear to be cellular fragments, chitinous material, compound structures that suggest arthropod origins, but scaled up beyond anything in current biological records. "Doc, you need to see this." Alice's voice crackled through my comm unit, interrupting my documentation. I found her crouched beside a second breach in the northern maintenance shaft, 30 meters from the first. Same dimensions, same impossible smoothness. This one was still warm. Temperature readings? I asked, though my handheld thermometer was already showing the answer. Ambient air in the shaft is 16 degrees Celsius. The hole's edge is measuring 31 degrees. Whatever made this was here less than an hour ago. Vera's voice echoed from the main corridor. "Make that 3 breaches." Found another one near the water recycling station. My xenobiology training kicked in: pattern recognition, behavioral analysis, threat assessment. Random geological events don't create multiple synchronized access points. Random geological events don't leave biological residue. Random geological events don't generate coordinated heat signatures. Something made these holes. Something intelligent enough to select strategic locations throughout our facility. Something with the biological capability to bore through materials that would challenge diamond-tipped industrial equipment. I collected samples from all 3 breach sites. The acid concentrations were identical, suggesting either the same organism or multiple organisms from the same population group. The chitinous fragments showed remarkable consistency in cellular structure. Under magnification, I could make out what appeared to be specialized boring appendages, molecular-level cutting tools evolved for tunneling through solid rock. Vaughn to command. I activated the facility-wide comm system. All personnel report to Central Command for emergency briefing in 10 minutes. Daretha's voice came back immediately. "What's the threat assessment, Doc?" I looked down at the sample vials, at the impossible holes boring into darkness beyond our deepest levels, at the evidence of something that had been moving through solid earth beneath us while we slept. Unknown biological entities have breached facility containment. Species demonstrates advanced tunneling capabilities and possible intelligence indicators. Threat level. I paused, watching amber fluid dissolve the metal sample container's edge. Threat level critical. The comm channel fell silent. In that silence, I heard something that made my blood freeze. A rhythmic tapping sound echoing up from the breach nearest my position. Not random, not geological settling. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. Pause. 3 taps. Communication. Emergency protocols are now in effect. I continued, trying to keep my voice steady. All personnel to Central Command immediately. And somebody get me a direct line to Surface Command. Alice's response carried a note of concern I'd never heard from her before. Surface comm has been intermittent all morning. Document signal keeps cutting out. I knelt beside the breach again, listening to those deliberate, measured taps rising from the darkness below. Something down there knew we were here. Something down there was trying to make contact. Or something down there was counting us. Deep Level Research Station Omega. Emergency log. Dr. Salira Vaughn. Date: Redacted time, 1,147 hours. Facility status, containment failure, 7 breaches. In 4 hours, we've gone from 3 impossible holes to 7, spread across sublevels 3, 4, and 5. They're not random anymore, if they ever were. Vera's pulled up the facility schematics on the main display. The breach pattern forms a rough spiral, each new opening position to maximize structural weakness while maintaining what appears to be optimal spacing for coordination. It's like they're mapping us, she said, her voice tight with the kind of fear that comes from understanding systems too well. Power conduits, water lines, ventilation shafts, they're hitting every critical junction. The lights flickered as she spoke, and somewhere in the walls, something metal groaned under stress. Crow's been running security sweeps since 0800, weapon drawn, checking every corner and shadow. Military training doesn't prepare you for an enemy that bypasses all your defensive positions by coming up through the floor. An enemy that doesn't use doors. Movement in sublevel 4. His voice crackled through the calm ventilation shaft near the mess hall. Something big. I grabbed my sample kit and headed for his position, Dareth close behind. The mess hall felt wrong the moment we entered. Too quiet, too still, like the air itself was holding its breath. The overhead vents, normally humming with circulation fans, had gone silent. Crow stood beneath the main intake, his flashlight beam disappearing into the ductwork above. Heard scratching, metallic scraping, then silence. I climbed onto a table for a better look. The vent grill had been removed from the inside, bent outward, metal twisted with impossible precision. No tool marks, just the same smooth reshaping I'd seen at the breach sites. Dareth, hand me the fiber optic camera. The display screen flickered to life as I fed the cable into the ductwork. 10 meters in, the camera caught movement, something large shifting in the darkness, too quick to focus on. The image distorted, filled with static. Electromagnetic interference. Vera's voice came through the comm from Central Command. Same signature we're getting from all the breach sites. Whatever's in there is generating an EM field. The camera died completely just as something vast and articulated filled the screen for a split second. Chitinous plating. Multiple limbs. Eyes that reflected light like black mirrors. It's in the vents? I whispered into my comm. The whole system's compromised. Crow's tactical mind kicked in immediately. If they're using the ventilation network, they can reach any room in the facility. We need to seal the main air circulation. But even as he spoke, we heard it. The sound of metal being systematically dismantled throughout the facility. Not just one creature. Multiple entities working in coordination, each one attacking a different system. The lights went out. Emergency power kicked in seconds later, bathing everything in blood-red illumination. In that hellish glow, we saw the vent grill in the mess hall's east wall bend outward, impossibly slow, like invisible hands were reshaping it from within. Central Command, this is Vaughn. We have visual confirmation of hostile entities. Multiple contacts, human-sized, arthropod characteristics. They're using our own infrastructure against us. Alice's response was barely audible through growing static. Copy that. Document. I'm reading similar movement on sensors throughout the facility. They're everywhere. A sound echoed through the mess hall. The wet scrape of something large moving through metal spaces too small for it. The twisted vent grill fell to the floor with a clang that seemed to echo forever. Dareth grabbed my arm. What are they? I thought about the acid residue, the perfect boring technique, the coordinated movement patterns. Everything pointed to a species that had evolved for underground infiltration. Creatures that could navigate through solid rock, through metal infrastructure, through any barrier we might construct. They're invasion specialists, I said, watching shadows move in the ductwork above us. This is what they do. This is what they evolved for. The ventilation system throughout the facility had gone completely silent. In that silence, we could hear them moving, the whisper of chitinous limbs against metal, the soft scrape of claws finding purchase, the wet breathing of creatures that had no business existing in our world. Crow raised his sidearm toward the ceiling, but we all knew the truth. His bullets were designed for human threats, not for whatever was systematically dismantling our facility from within. They're not just coming up randomly, I said, the realization hitting me like cold water. They're coordinating. This is an invasion. The emergency lighting flickered once, twice, then died completely. In the absolute darkness, something dropped from the ceiling with a wet thud. Breathing, not human breathing. And then, from everywhere at once, the sound of chitinous limbs moving across metal surfaces, converging on our position. Emergency log, Deep Level Research Station Omega. Date, corrupted. Time, 14 hours 47 minutes and 33 seconds to 15 hours 52 minutes and 9 seconds. Logging officer, Dr. Salira Vaughn, Emergency Response Coordinator. Facility status, complete isolation. Entry 5.1, 14 hours 47 minutes and 33 seconds. The cable junction box in sublevel 3 is gone. Not damaged, gone. Where 50 pounds of reinforced steel and copper wiring should be, there's just another one of those perfect circular holes, still warm to the touch. The organic acid residue is eating through the concrete around the edges, expanding the breach by millimeters every few minutes. Alice confirmed it 20 minutes ago. Every hard line to the surface has been severed. Not cut, dissolved. The satellite uplink went dark at 1423, and now we know why. They didn't just breach our facility. They've been systematically destroying our ability to communicate with the outside world. How long? I asked her. For the cables? Maybe 6 hours. But they had to know exactly where to hit. Her voice cracked. Salira, they've been watching us, learning our systems. I'm trying to process this through my xenobiological training. Arthropods with this level of intelligence, this capacity for strategic thinking, it challenges everything we know about invertebrate cognition. But the evidence is overwhelming. They mapped our infrastructure before they made their move. Entry 5.2, 15 hours 3 minutes and 17 seconds. Vera's running diagnostics on the emergency backup systems. The creature's electromagnetic interference is stronger now, more focused. She's having to reroute power through secondary systems I didn't even know existed. The backup generators are holding, she reported, sweat beading on her forehead despite the facility's chill. But they're probing, testing our electrical systems like they're looking for weaknesses. Daretha's injury is worse than I initially assessed. The puncture wounds on his arm have developed a dark discoloration around the edges, and he's running a fever. I've administered antibiotics, but I suspect we're dealing with something beyond conventional medicine. The creatures may have evolved defensive toxins. His breathing is labored, and he keeps asking about his sister in Portland. I don't have the heart to tell him we have no way to contact her. Entry 5.3, 15 hours 18 minutes and 44 seconds. Brevin set up barricades at the 3 main corridor access points to Central Command. His military experience is showing. He's thinking like these things are an enemy force, not just animals. Given what we've observed, he might be right. They're not just randomly tunneling, he said, checking his sidearm for the 4th time. Look at the breach pattern. They hit our communications first, then they went for structural supports. Now they're moving toward our central systems. I pulled up the facility schematic on my tablet. He's right. The breach locations form a tactical pattern. They're isolating us, cutting off our resources, forcing us into an increasingly smaller defended space. It's textbook siege warfare, Brevin continued. Question is, how does a species that evolved underground know military tactics? Entry 5.4, 15 hours 31 minutes and 2 seconds. The ventilation system just went silent. We'd been hearing them moving through the ducts for hours. Scratching, scraping, the whisper of chitinous bodies against metal. Now there's nothing. In the silence, I can hear Daretha's labored breathing, the hum of Vera's equipment, the sound of my own heartbeat. Alice looked up from her communication console. Maybe they moved on? No, Brevin said quietly. They're repositioning, getting ready for something. The lights flickered, once, twice, then steady again. But in those moments of darkness, I swear I heard something else. A low-frequency hum, almost below the threshold of hearing. It made my teeth ache. Entry 5.5, 15 hours, 45 minutes, and 33 seconds. Emergency broadcast system activated. Automated transmission initiated. Signal strength 12% degrading. The facility's emergency systems just triggered automatically. The EBS only activates when it detects a surface-level threat. That means they've breached the surface. The creatures have reached the outside world. Alice managed to boost our signal strength for 37 seconds before the interference cut us off again. In that brief window, we picked up fragmentary transmissions. Multiple breaches confirmed in Greater Los Angeles area. London reports underground entities emerging from the Thames flood barriers. Tokyo subway system evacuated. Unknown organisms in the tunnel systems. New York declaring state of emergency. The signal dissolved into static, but the message was clear. This isn't just happening here. It's happening everywhere. Entry 5.6, 15 hours, 52 minutes, and 9 seconds. They found us. The barricades are holding for now, but I can see the creatures through the reinforced glass of the command center door. They're beautiful and terrible, like someone took the most efficient predator imaginable and built it from living shadow and nightmare. Their bodies are sleek, chitinous, with too many joints that bend in impossible directions. But it's their eyes that haunt me. They're not the simple compound eyes of insects. They're large, dark, and utterly intelligent. One of them is standing directly in front of the door, and I swear it's looking at me. Not just seeing me, studying me. It tilts its head with an almost human gesture of curiosity. Dareth collapsed 10 minutes ago. His fever broke, but he's not waking up. The discoloration has spread up his arm and across his chest in a pattern that looks almost like a road map. Vera thinks the toxin might be some kind of biological marker, but I don't want to consider what that might mean. Brevin is checking his ammunition. Alice is trying to boost the signal again. I'm documenting everything because someone needs to know what happened here. The creature at the door just placed one of its limbs against the reinforced glass. Where it touches, the glass is beginning to cloud. The same organic acid that dissolved our cables now working on our last barrier. We have maybe 20 minutes before they break through. If anyone receives this transmission, remember this: they're not just animals. They're organized, intelligent, and they've been preparing for this for a very long time. The breaches aren't random. They're coordinated strikes against human infrastructure, and they're not stopping with us. Transmission ends. Signal lost. 15 hours, 52 minutes, and 9 seconds. Automated backup systems engaged. Next scheduled transmission. Unavailable. Emergency log. Deep Level Research Station Omega. Date. Corrupted. Time. 16 hours, 15 minutes, and 22 seconds to 18 hours, 43 minutes, and 17 seconds. Logging Officer. Dr. Salira Vaughn, Emergency Response Coordinator. Facility Status. Survival Mode. Barricaded Central Command. Entry 6.1, 16 hours, 15 minutes, and 22 seconds. We're sealed in. Brevin welded the reinforced door shut after the glass barrier failed, but I can hear them testing the metal, scraping, probing, applying that damned acid in calculated patterns. They're not frantically attacking. They're working. The command center is our fortress now. 12 feet by 20 feet of reinforced concrete and steel, with our own air filtration system and emergency power. We have food for maybe 4 days, water for 6 if we're careful. But I don't think we have 4 days. Dareth is unconscious but stable. The discoloration has stopped spreading, but the pattern is clearer now. It looks like a network, branching veins of dark purple that pulse with his heartbeat. I've never seen anything like it in any medical literature. They're mapping his circulatory system, Vera said, studying the readings from our makeshift medical scanner. The toxin isn't trying to kill him. It's cataloging him. The implications make my stomach turn. Entry 6.2, 16 hours 47 minutes and 35 seconds. Breakthrough in understanding their behavior. I've been watching them through the security monitors, and they're not just randomly exploring the facility. They move in coordinated groups of 3 to 5 individuals, always maintaining visual contact with each other. When one group encounters an obstacle, they signal the others with those subsonic frequencies. It's a hive intelligence, but not like bees or ants. Each individual maintains autonomy while contributing to collective decision-making. I've seen them debate, if that's the right word, over which route to take, which barriers to breach first. They're playing chess, Brevin observed, watching the monitors over my shoulder. And we're not even on the board yet. We're just furniture they're moving around. He's right. They're not hunting us. They're preparing for us. Entry 6.3, 17 hours, 21 minutes, and 8 seconds. Alice managed to boost our emergency transmitter using power from the medical equipment. We had 43 seconds of contact with the outside world before the interference returned. What we learned changes everything. The fragmentary reports paint a picture of coordinated global emergence. London, Tokyo, New York, Los Angeles, Sydney, every major city with significant underground infrastructure, but also smaller locations, rural areas with extensive cave systems, subway tunnels, sewer networks, underground parking garages. It's not random, I told the team. They've been down there for decades, maybe centuries, mapping our underground infrastructure. They know every tunnel, every foundation, every weakness. The most disturbing report came from the UK. Creatures demonstrate familiarity with human anatomy. Precise targeting of critical infrastructure suggests prior study of human settlements. They've been watching us, learning us, preparing for this moment. Entry 6.4, 17 hours, 53 minutes, and 44 seconds. Food inventory, 3 MREs, half a box of energy bars, 1 thermos of coffee, cold, water, 2 gallons, plus whatever we can recycle from the air filtration system. Vera's rigged up a motion detector using spare electronics. It's crude, but it'll give us warning when they make their final push. The readings show them moving in a pattern around our position, not random patrol but systematic probing. They're testing response times, Brevin said, studying the movement patterns. Touch a wall here, wait for us to react, then try a different approach. They're learning our defensive capabilities. I've been thinking about evolutionary biology. For a species to develop this level of intelligence, this capacity for strategic thinking, they would need complex social structures, tool use, generational knowledge transfer. These aren't just underground predators that got lucky. They're an apex species that's been developing in parallel with humanity. Entry 6.5, 18 hours, 17 minutes, and 26 seconds. The subsonic frequencies have changed. Instead of the irregular pulses we heard before, they're now producing a steady, rhythmic pattern. It's making all of us nauseous, giving us headaches. Vera thinks it might be intentional, a form of psychological warfare. It's like they're singing, Alice said, pressing her palms against her temples. All of them together. I've been analyzing the frequency patterns. They're not random. There's mathematical precision to the intervals, the harmonics. It reminds me of whale songs, but with far more complex structure. If I didn't know better, I'd say they're communicating in a language we can't comprehend. Dareth stirred for the first time in hours. His eyes opened, but he didn't seem to see us. Instead, he lifted his hand toward the ceiling, fingers moving in small, precise gestures, like he was conducting an orchestra. Dareth, I called softly. He turned toward me, and for a moment his eyes were completely black. Then he collapsed again, and the darkness faded. Entry 6.6, 18 hours, 43 minutes, and 17 seconds. They've stopped testing our defenses. The motion detector shows them withdrawing to the outer corridors, but they're not leaving. They're positioning themselves at every exit, every ventilation shaft, every possible escape route. We're not trapped. We're contained. I've been thinking about the reports from other facilities, other cities. The pattern is always the same. Initial breaches, communication disruption, then systematic containment of human populations. This isn't random predation. This is organized. They're not trying to kill us, I realized aloud. They're trying to understand us. Brevin looked up from his weapon maintenance. What do you mean? Think about it. They could have flooded this place with their acid, brought down the ceiling, filled it with toxic gas. But they haven't. They've isolated us, studied our responses, even sampled one of us. I looked at Daretha's unconscious form. They're conducting research. The thought is more terrifying than any straightforward attack. We're not prey. We're specimens. Alice managed to boost the signal one more time, just long enough to send a burst transmission. I don't know if anyone received it, but if they did, they now know what we've learned. The creatures are not invading. They're collecting data. Humanity is being studied by an intelligence that has been preparing for this moment far longer than we've been aware of their existence. If you receive this transmission, remember, they fear nothing we've shown them so far, but they respect intelligence. They're not trying to destroy us. They're trying to understand us, and I think they're succeeding. The subsonic frequencies have stopped. In the silence, I can hear something new, a sound like distant machinery, rhythmic and mechanical. But it's not coming from our facilities systems. It's coming from below, from deeper than we've ever gone. They're not finished with us. They're just getting started. Transmission ends. Signal strength 8%. Critical. Automated systems maintaining minimal function. Estimated time to total system failure 14 hours, 32 minutes. Emergency log. Dr. Salira Vaughn. Deep Level Research Station Omega. Facility status. Critical. Day 3, 0847 hours. Dareth died at 0623 hours. I need to record this while my hands are still steady. The toxin analysis is complete, and what I found changes everything we thought we knew about these creatures. The wounds weren't just bites. They were injections. Daretha's tissue samples showed deliberate venom placement. Not the random tearing you'd expect from an animal attack, but precise punctures positioned to maximize systemic distribution. These things understand human anatomy. They know exactly where to strike to ensure a slow, agonizing death. But that's not the worst part. The compound structure matches nothing in any terrestrial database, yet it shows signs of refinement. Evolution doesn't produce this kind of biochemical sophistication overnight. These creatures have been perfecting this toxin for a very long time, and they've had human subjects to practice on. Crow's taken Daretha's death hard. He's been pacing the command center perimeter for 2 hours, checking and rechecking the barricades. Should have been me going through that vent, he keeps saying. I've tried to explain that Dareth volunteered because he was smallest, that it was the logical choice, but logic doesn't ease guilt. The creatures have been quiet since 0400 hours. Too quiet. Alice thinks they're regrouping, but I'm starting to suspect something more calculating. Every previous assault followed the same pattern: probe defenses, test responses, adapt tactics. They're learning our behavior just as methodically as we're studying theirs. I've been analyzing the biological samples we collected from the breach sites. The chitinous fragments show where patterns consistent with extensive tunneling, but also scoring that suggests tool use. Crude implements, but tools nonetheless. We're not dealing with mindless animals. The electromagnetic interference they generate isn't random either. Vera's detected patterns in the frequency modulation, repetitive sequences that might indicate communication protocols. If I'm right, they're not just coordinating instinctively. They're sharing tactical information. 0923 hours. Crow's Ceiling Breach Site 7. The creatures found a weakness in our eastern perimeter, a structural junction where the emergency power conduits meet the main support beam. They've been working at it for hours, using some kind of secreted acid to weaken the metal. Crow says if they break through there, they'll have a direct path to the command center. He's welding steel plates over the breach point, but we all know it's temporary. The acid will eat through anything eventually. We're buying time, nothing more. Vera's power management is keeping us functional, but barely. Every system we lose makes us more vulnerable. Climate control failed an hour ago. The air's getting thick and stale. Emergency lighting is flickering. The backup generators are running on half capacity because the creatures damaged the primary fuel lines. They're methodically destroying our life support. This isn't random destruction. It's siege warfare. 1,156 hours. I found something in the geological survey data that Dareth flagged before he died. The rock samples from the deepest breach points contain trace fossils. Microscopic shell fragments embedded in sediment layers that date back approximately 800 years. But here's what's impossible. The fossils show the same chitinous structure as our current invaders. These creatures have been here before. I've cross-referenced the dating with historical records from the region. 1347, the year the nearby mining settlement of Blackrock disappeared overnight. Official records claim plague, but the few surviving accounts describe devils from the deep earth and chittering hordes that ate through stone. The pattern repeats. 1623, 1891, 1954. Every few centuries, somewhere in this geological region, entire communities vanish. Always the same vague official explanations. Always the same whispered survivor accounts of creatures emerging from underground. We're not facing an invasion. We're facing a cycle. 1,334 hours. The eastern barricade is failing. Crow's acid burns are worse than he's admitting. I can see the pain in the way he moves, the careful way he favors his left arm. But he won't stop working. These things want through that wall, he said. They're gonna have to go through me first. The metal plating is already showing corrosion. Thin wisps of smoke rise from the edges where the creature's secretions are eating through our defenses. The smell is getting stronger. A sharp chemical stench that makes our eyes water and our throats burn. Alice has been trying to boost our signal strength for the past hour, hoping to reach surface command, but the electromagnetic interference is intensifying. The creatures seem to generate more disruption when they mass together. Whatever we're facing down here, there are a lot more of them now than when this started. I can hear them moving in the walls, scratching, scraping, the soft whisper of bodies sliding through spaces too small for anything that size. They're everywhere around us now, just waiting. 1,445 hours. Breach Site 7 is compromised. The explosion knocked us all down. Crow's welding torch ignited some kind of gas the creatures had been pumping through the breach point. When the smoke cleared, there was a hole big enough for a person to crawl through, and the edges were still smoking with that corrosive secretion. Crow threw himself at the breach as the first creature started coming through. The thing was massive, easily 7 feet long, with mandibles that could snap bone. But Crow had his sidearm, and at point-blank range, even their armor has weak spots. He killed it, but 3 more were right behind. I've never seen anything move that fast. Crow got 2 more shots off before they were on him. The sounds? I try not to think about the sounds, but he bought us time. While they were occupied with Crow, Vera triggered the emergency foam system for that sector. Military-grade fire suppressant. It hardens to concrete consistency in seconds. The breach is sealed again, and the creatures trapped in that section are either dead or immobilized. Crow saved us all. But the cost? 1,612 hours. I've been going through Crow's personal files, trying to find next-of-kin information for the official report I'll never get to file. But I found something else instead. Buried in his military service record, there's a classified mission from 2018. Operation Deep Sight, a reconnaissance mission to investigate anomalous seismic activity in the Hindu Kush Mountains. The mission report is heavily redacted, but the casualty list is clear. 12 soldiers entered the target area. Only Crow came out. His psychological evaluation mentions extreme stress reactions to enclosed spaces and recurring nightmares involving subterranean contact. They classified him unfit for underground operations. That's why he was so good at predicting their attack patterns. That's why he knew exactly how to reinforce our defenses. Brevin Crow had fought these things before. 1803 hours. 3 of us left. Alice, Vera, and myself. The creatures are testing our remaining defenses systematically. They probe each barricade for exactly 17 minutes, then move to the next position. Always 17 minutes. The precision is unsettling. It suggests not just intelligence, but a kind of mathematical thinking that feels disturbingly familiar. Our food ran out this morning. Water reserves are down to maybe 6 hours. But I don't think we'll last that long anyway. The command center walls are showing stress fractures, and we can hear them boring through the foundation beneath us. They're coming from below now. I've documented everything I can about their behavioral patterns, their biology, their apparent intelligence. If anyone ever finds these logs, maybe they'll be better prepared than we were. Maybe they'll understand what we're really dealing with. These aren't just monsters. They're a counter-civilization, ancient and patient and utterly hostile to surface life. They've been down there in the deep places for centuries, possibly millennia, growing stronger and smarter with each cycle. We were never supposed to win this fight. We were just supposed to buy time. 1947 hours. The floor is cracking. They're almost through. Whatever happens next, I want it on record that Dareth Quill, Brevin Crow, Alice Thorne, and Vera Sable died trying to protect the surface world from something it doesn't even know exists. They were heroes, every one of them. I can hear scratching directly beneath my feet now. Dr. Salira Vaughn, signing off. End log. Emergency log. Dr. Salira Vaughn. Deep Level Research Station Omega. Facility status. Final stand. Day 3 to 2034 hours. The floor held. For now. Whatever Crow did to the support structure in Sector 7 created a resonance that's keeping them at bay temporarily. The scratching stopped 20 minutes ago, replaced by a low harmonic vibration that makes my teeth ache. They're reassessing, possibly communicating with deeper colonies. Vera found the real files. While I was documenting creature behavior, she'd been digging through the facility's classified archives, the ones that require level 9 clearance that none of us are supposed to have. But when you're facing extinction, protocol becomes irrelevant. Salira, she said, her voice hollow, you need to see this. Project Hadean Watch, established 1953. Classification level, Cosmic. Deep Level Research Station Omega. True mission parameters. This facility was never about geological research. We've been guards, sentries, watching for signs of their return. The archives go back 70 years, but they reference documentation that spans centuries. The Black Rock incident of 1347 wasn't the first recorded emergence. It was just the first one the government decided to actively suppress. 1623, the Devonshire mines. 47 workers disappeared over 3 days. Official cause, cave-in. Actual cause, chitinous entities of unknown origin emerged from depths exceeding surveyed mine parameters. 1891, the Chicago Deep Well Project. An experimental well drilled to record-breaking depths suddenly began producing aggressive biological contaminants. The project was terminated and the site sealed with concrete. The neighborhood was evacuated under the cover story of a gas leak. 1954, Project Mole, an early nuclear test conducted not in Nevada, but in deep caverns beneath the Montana wilderness. The test was never meant to measure atomic capabilities. It was meant to collapse tunnel systems that extended thousands of feet deeper than any known cave network. Every few decades they emerge. Every time the government covers it up. And every time they learn more about us. 2,156 hours. The pattern is accelerating. According to the classified records, the emergence cycles used to be roughly every 70 to 80 years. But they're getting shorter. The last documented incident was in 1997, a mining operation in Siberia that went dark for 6 weeks before Russian forces contained the situation. That's only 28 years ago. Something is driving them to surface more frequently. Population growth, maybe. Seismic activity from deep drilling. Or perhaps they're simply growing bolder, more numerous in their deep colonies. Vera's found schematics for this facility that we never knew existed. Sublevel 6 and 7 aren't storage and equipment, they're containment levels. built specifically to house captured specimens and study their biology. The elevator that's been under maintenance since I arrived, it goes down to level 8. We've been living on top of a prison designed to hold these things. 2,243 hours. Alice got a signal through. Brief contact with NORAD command. 37 seconds of clear transmission before the electromagnetic interference kicked in again. The news isn't good. Similar breaches worldwide. 17 confirmed sites across 6 continents. But here's what's terrifying, they're not random. Every emergence point corresponds to facilities like ours. Government installations built over known historical incident sites. We weren't just monitoring them. We were containing them. And now every containment site has failed simultaneously. This is coordinated, Alice said, her hands shaking as she adjusted the radio frequencies. Something triggered a global emergence. All of them at the same time. I've been reviewing seismic data from the past month. There was a deep tremor on March 15th, magnitude 4.2, origin point approximately 8 miles directly beneath us. But the waveform was wrong. Too regular, too sustained. Natural earthquakes don't maintain harmonic frequencies for 6 hours. They were signaling each other. Across continents, through the deep earth, coordinating their return to the surface. 2,334 hours. Vera's found the self-destruct system. It's not designed for normal facility destruction. The explosive yield calculations show enough force to collapse tunnel systems extending 3 miles in every direction. This entire installation is built on a nuclear deadman's switch designed to bury these creatures permanently. Look at the authorization requirements, Vera said, pointing to the command console. It needs 3 senior staff codes entered simultaneously, but I've been going through the personnel files. There were supposed to be 5 senior staff assigned to this facility. Dr. Martinez and Dr. Chun. They were scheduled to arrive 2 weeks ago, but their transport was delayed due to weather conditions. They never intended for us to have full authorization capability. We were meant to monitor and report, not respond. If the creatures emerged, someone else was supposed to make the decision to bury us all. But somehow, the system recognizes our emergency credentials. Daretha's access codes are still active, and when combined with mine and either Alice or Vera's, we have the authority to end this. The blast radius extends to the surface. Anyone within 2 miles would be vaporized instantly. 0012 hours, day 4. I can hear them again. The harmonic vibration stopped an hour ago, replaced by the familiar scratching and scraping. But it's different now, more organized, more purposeful. They're not just trying to break through anymore. They're excavating. Systematic tunneling operations, coordinated across multiple breach points. Whatever they learned during their reconnaissance phase, they're now implementing a full-scale engineering solution to reach us. I've been going through Crow's military files more thoroughly. Operation Deep Sight wasn't his only underground mission. There were 12 classified operations between 2016 and 2019, all involving subterranean reconnaissance in different global locations. The government has been tracking emergent sites and deploying specialists to monitor them for years. Crow wasn't just a security chief. He was part of an international task force designed to study and contain these creatures. His psychological profile mentions survivor guilt related to abandonment of mission parameters. I think I understand now. In the Hindu Kush, he was ordered to retreat and let the creatures emerge. To observe and report, not engage. But this time, he chose differently. 0087 hours. The mathematics are becoming clear. Based on the historical emergence pattern and the acceleration we're seeing, this isn't just another cycle. This is an escalation towards something permanent. The 1954 Montana incident lasted 6 weeks before containment. The 1997 Siberian emergence lasted 4 weeks. But current global emergence has been active for only 3 days, and already they've achieved surface breakthrough at multiple sites. They're not just getting stronger or more numerous. They're getting smarter, learning from each previous encounter, adapting their strategies based on human response patterns. Each emergence cycle has been a reconnaissance mission, gathering intelligence for this moment. Alice has been monitoring emergency frequencies. Fragmentary reports from other facilities paint the same picture. Rapid, coordinated breakthrough followed by systematic infrastructure destruction. They're not just emerging randomly, they're targeting our technological capabilities first. Power grids, communication networks, transportation hubs. They understand that our strength lies in coordination, and they're specifically disrupting our ability to mount a unified response. 0134 hours. Vera's made a breakthrough with the facility's deep archives. There's a document buried in the lowest security files, written in 1953 by the facility's original designer. Dr. Heinrich Müller, former Nazi scientist brought to America under Operation Paperclip. His research wasn't just about rocketry. The entities show clear evidence of advanced cognitive function and long-term strategic planning, he wrote. Initial contact suggests they possess technological capabilities that exceed current human understanding, adapted specifically for subterranean environments. Recommendation: containment protocols must be designed under the assumption that the entities are studying us as intensively as we study them. Each encounter provides them with additional intelligence regarding human capabilities and limitations. Personal note: I have seen what they are capable of. The Third Reich's deep excavations in the Thuringian forest were not searching for coal. We found them first, and they taught us the true meaning of horror. America must not repeat our mistakes. 0156 hours. They're through. Multiple breach points, coordinated penetration, exactly as Dr. Müller predicted. The floor of the command center is buckling upward as they push through from below. We have maybe 10 minutes before this position is completely compromised. The self-destruct system is armed and ready. 3 codes entered, fail-safes disengaged, nuclear countdown initiated but not yet activated. All it takes is a single button press. Alice has been trying to establish final contact with the surface, but every channel is dead static. Either the global infrastructure has collapsed entirely, or these creatures have developed more sophisticated jamming capabilities than we imagined. We're on our own. Vera's looking at me with a question in her eyes that I don't want to answer. Alice has stopped trying to reach the outside world and is staring at the activation button. 2 miles. Everyone within 2 miles dies instantly, but according to the geological surveys, these tunnel systems extend for hundreds of miles in every direction. We'd be sealing only one node in a vast underground network. Unless 0203 hours. I understand now. This facility isn't just built over an emergence point. It's built over a primary hub, a central junction in their tunnel network. The reason the government chose this location, the reason they've maintained containment protocols here for 70 years. If we collapse this site, we don't just seal one set of tunnels. We disrupt their entire regional communication and transportation network. It won't stop the global emergence, but it might buy the surface world time to mount a real defense. The scratching is getting louder. I can see cracks forming in the floor plating. Time to make the choice that Crow never got to make in the Hindu Kush. 0207 hours. My hand is on the activation button. If anyone finds these logs, remember what we learned. They coordinate through harmonic frequencies, they're vulnerable to structural resonance disruption, and they've been studying human behavior for centuries. But most importantly, remember that they can be stopped. It just requires people willing to pay the price. Dr. Salira Vaughn, final entry. The choice is made. End log. Emergency log entry number 147. Deep Level Research Station Omega. Dr. Salira Vaughn, Emergency Response Coordinator. Timestamp: 14 hours, 23 minutes, and 7 seconds. Day 6 of breach event. Facility status: countdown active, T-minus 17 minutes. The command center walls are buckling. I can hear them through 3 feet of reinforced concrete. Scratching, boring, that subsonic humming that makes your teeth ache. Alice has her hands pressed over her ears, blood trickling from her nose. The frequency they're using is getting stronger. Vera's fingers fly across the destruction sequence console, her face illuminated by red warning lights. Salira, I need you to authenticate the final protocol. Your biometrics. I press my palm to the scanner. It beeps once, twice, rejected. My hands are shaking too badly. Come on, I whisper, steadying my wrist against the console. The scanner accepts on the third try. Final protocol authenticated, Dr. S. Vaughn. Facility destruction sequence. Armed. Detonation in 1647, 1646, 1645. Alice. I call over the grinding sound of metal giving way somewhere below us. How's that signal boost coming? She looks up from the communications array, her usually neat ponytail now wild around her face. I've got maybe 30 seconds of clear transmission time. The electromagnetic interference is off the charts. They know what we're trying to do. The lights flicker. Emergency power kicks in, bathing everything in harsh red. Through the reinforced windows overlooking sublevel 4, I can see them, dozens of chitinous forms moving with terrifying coordination. One turns and looks directly at me. Its compound eyes reflect the emergency lighting like black mirrors. It knows I'm watching. 15 minutes until detonation. Vera announces, her voice steady despite everything. The charges will collapse all 7 sublevels and seal the primary tunnel network. But Salira, she doesn't finish. She doesn't need to. Minimum safe distance is 3 miles. We're 400 feet underground. I activate my personal log recorder one final time. This is Dr. Salira Vaughn, xenobiologist and emergency response coordinator for Deep Level Research Station Omega. If anyone recovers this data, you need to understand what we've learned about these creatures. A metallic screech echoes through the facility. Something large is moving through the ventilation system directly above us. They communicate through subsonic frequencies, approximately 12 to 18 hertz. Disrupting these frequencies causes disorientation, temporary paralysis in smaller specimens. They coordinate all hunting behavior through this network. The ceiling access panel rattles. Dust rains down. Light sensitivity is extreme, not just bright light, but specific wavelengths. UVC range, 200 to 280 nanometers, causes what appears to be severe pain. They retreat immediately from these frequencies. Salira, Alice whispers urgently, I've got the boost ready. Signal strength at 40%. That's the best I can do. Breeding cycle appears to be triggered by seismic activity combined with surface population density reaching critical thresholds. Historical analysis suggests they emerge every 150 to 200 years, always targeting high-density population centers. The access panel buckles outward. Something is forcing its way through. Structural weak points are the joint segments between thorax and abdomen. Explosive charges placed there can. A claw punches through the ceiling panel. Black ichor drips onto the floor, sizzling where it hits. Do it now, I shout to Alice. She slams her palm down on the transmission button. The communications array howls to life, every speaker in the facility broadcasting at maximum power. Emergency broadcast. All stations. This is Deep Level Research Station Omega. The following tactical data is critical for surface defense operations. The creature in the ceiling hisses, a sound like steam escaping from a ruptured pipe. His claw retracts momentarily. I lean into the microphone, speaking as quickly and clearly as possible. Subsonic disruption frequencies 12 to 18 Hz cause paralysis. UVC wavelength light 200 to 280 nanometers causes severe pain responses. Target joint segments between thorax and abdomen for maximum damage. They coordinate through. The ceiling collapses. The creature drops into the command center. 8 feet of nightmare made real. Its compound eyes fix on me as its mandibles spread wide, revealing rows of needle-sharp teeth. The subsonic humming intensifies until I can feel it in my bones. Vera empties her service weapon into its joint segments. The bullets spark off its armor, but one finds the gap I described. Dark fluid spurts and the creature staggers. Keep talking, Alice screams over the chaos. Breeding chambers are always in the deepest accessible areas. They prefer temperatures between 45 to 50 degrees Celsius. humidity above 80%. They'll establish nurseries in. Another creature drops through the hole. Then another. 7 minutes to detonation. Vera calls out, still firing. The signal strength indicator flickers. 30%, 25, 30 again. Alice works frantically to maintain the boost. Emergency response protocol recommendation. Establish monitoring stations at 500-foot depth intervals around all major population centers. Watch for seismic signatures originating from below established geological surveys. When they return, and they will return, humanity must be ready. One of the creatures lunges at Alice. She rolls aside, clutching the communications equipment to her chest. The creature's claw misses her by inches, leaving deep gouges in the concrete wall. Personal message for whoever finds this. Tell my sister Sarah that I'm sorry I missed her wedding. Tell her I thought about her and Mom every day down here. My voice breaks. I clear my throat and continue. To the teams who built this facility, who trained us, who trusted us with this knowledge, we did our job. The data will survive even if we don't. 3 minutes. Vera shouts. She's backed against the detonation console, service weapon empty, holding a fire axe. The charges are armed and ready. Final observation. I speak directly into the recorder. They're not just predators. They're intelligent. They've been planning this emergence for decades, possibly centuries. The coordinated worldwide breaches, the systematic targeting of communication infrastructure, the knowledge of human physiology, this isn't random. This is warfare. The largest creature, the one that came through first, approaches slowly. Its movements are deliberate, almost ceremonial. It tilts its head, studying me like I'm a particularly interesting specimen. They understand us better than we understand them. But we're learning. Every encounter, every sacrifice, every piece of data we gather, it all matters. Use what we've discovered. Build on it. Be ready for them. Signals fading. Alice calls out. 20 seconds of transmission time left. 1 minute to detonation. Vera announces. I look at my teammates. Alice with her desperate determination. Vera with her steady courage even in the face of death. I think about Brevin, who died sealing the lower passages. About Dareth, who gave his life just trying to understand these things. To anyone listening, we are Dr. Alice Thorne, Communications Specialist. Systems Engineer Vera Sable. Security Chief Brevin Crow. Research Assistant Dareth Quill. And I am Dr. Salira Vaughn. We stood our ground. We bought you time. The creature's claw swipes across my chest. Pain flares, hot and immediate. I stumble but keep talking. We seal the tunnels in 45 seconds. The knowledge survives. That has to be enough. That has to be. Static fills the speakers. The signal dies. The creatures stop advancing. They know what's coming. Vera reaches for my hand. Alice crawls over, blood running from a gash on her forehead. We huddle together in the red emergency lighting as the countdown reaches its final seconds. 15 seconds. Vera whispers. The creatures back away from us, retreating toward the exits they'll never reach in time. 10 seconds. I close my eyes and think about the surface world. About cities full of people who have no idea what almost reached them. About the children who will grow up safe because of what we did here. 5. Alice squeezes my hand. 4. Vera's breathing steadies. 3. The creature's subsonic humming reaches a crescendo. 2. I open my eyes one last time and see the command center, our makeshift fortress, our tomb. 1. The world turns white. Transmission ended. Recovery log Surface Team Alpha. 6 months post-incident.
Incident commandé, Colonel Marcus Webb.
Dr. Vaughn's final transmission was received by monitoring stations across 3 continents. Her tactical data has been incorporated into Emergency Response Protocol 7 Alpha, now standard for all underground monitoring facilities worldwide. The sacrifice of Deep-Level Research Station Omega's crew prevented surface breach in the North American sector. Tunnel collapse was complete and effective. No further seismic activity detected in the region. Personnel files updated. Dr. Salira Vaughn, Dr. Alice Thorne, Systems Engineer Vera Sable, Security Chief Brevin Crow, and Research Assistant Dareth Quill listed as key in service to global security. Recommendation: establish memorial protocols and ensure their research continues through the newly formed Deep Earth Monitoring Division. Their sacrifice bought us time. We must ensure it wasn't wasted. End log. Global Emergency Response Network. Final report. Operation Deep Recovery. Classification: declassified per Memorial Protocol 7 Alpha. Compiled by Colonel Marcus Webb, Deep Earth Monitoring Division. Date: 6 months post-Omega incident. Executive summary: the sacrifice of Deep-Level Research Station Omega's crew on Day 6 of the Global Emergence event prevented catastrophic surface breach in Sector 7 North. Dr. Salira Vaughn's final transmission, received by 47 monitoring stations worldwide, provided critical tactical intelligence that enabled successful defense operations across 6 continents. This report serves as both operational analysis and memorial to the 5 individuals who gave their lives to preserve global security.
Rekofaet Audio Logs, Dr. Salira Vaughn.
The following recordings were extracted from Station Omega's black box data core, recovered 3 months after facility destruction. Audio quality varies due to electromagnetic interference and structural damage. Personal log: Day 1, 8:30 hours. Static. Clear voice, professional tone. Personal log: Dr. Salira Vaughn. Starting my 2nd year as Emergency Response Coordinator for Deep Level Research Station Omega. Routine seismic monitoring shows some interesting patterns, but nothing outside normal parameters. Brevin's got the new security protocols implemented, and the team is settling in well. Dareth's enthusiasm for the extremophile research is infectious. Reminds me why I got into xenobiology in the first place. Pause. Sound of coffee being poured. Called Sarah last night. She's excited about the wedding plans. I promised I'd make it up for the ceremony in December. 6 months down here seems manageable. If only I knew then what these tunnels were really hiding. End log. Personal log: Day 3, 22:15 hours. Voice slightly strained. Background equipment humming. Something's not right about these seismic readings. The patterns are too regular, too coordinated. I keep thinking about my research on collective intelligence in arthropod colonies. What if... No, that's impossible. There's nothing down here that could. Long pause. Papers rustling. I'm being paranoid. Alice says the communication delays are just solar interference. Vera's running diagnostics on all our systems. Everything has a rational explanation. Everything always does, until it doesn't. Distant rumbling sound. What the hell was that? End log. Personal log: Day 6, 14:20 hours. Voice urgent. Breathing heavy. Sounds of alarms and destruction in background. If anyone finds this, remember what I told you about the light frequencies and the subsonic disruption. But there's something else. Something I didn't have time to transmit. Explosion in distance. Voice becomes more rushed. They're not just intelligent. They're cultural. They have memory that spans centuries. The markings we found in the lower tunnels, they're not just territorial markers. They're historical records. They know about us. They've been studying us every time they emerge. Ceiling collapse sounds. Coughing. The emergence sites aren't random. They're strategic. London, Tokyo, New York, they chose population centers where infrastructure collapse would cause maximum chaos. This wasn't an invasion. It was a test run. Another crash. Multiple voices shouting in background. They'll be back. Maybe not in our lifetime, but they'll be back. And next time, they'll be ready for our countermeasures. We have to stay ahead of them. We have to. Transmission cuts to static. End log. Recovery mission report. Surface Team Alpha.
Mission commandée, Colonel Marcus Webb.
Team size: 12 specialists. Duration: 72 hours. Objective: data recovery and site assessment. Day 1 site approach. The former location of Deep Level Research Station Omega is now a perfectly circular crater, 400 feet deep and 200 feet in diameter. The facility's destruction charges functioned exactly as designed. Complete structural collapse with thermal signature consistent with controlled demolition. No signs of creature activity in the immediate area. Seismic monitoring confirms tunnel network successfully sealed. Whatever was down there is buried under 50,000 tons of reinforced concrete and earth. Day 2 Data Core Recovery. Located Station Omega's primary data core 200 feet below surface level, protected by specialized shielding. Core intact despite massive structural damage. Dr. Vaughn's research files, personal logs, and tactical observations fully recoverable. Most significant discovery: classified files revealing Station Omega's true purpose. This facility wasn't a research station, it was a monitoring post. The government has known about these creatures for over a century. Day 3 Historical Analysis. Cross-referenced Dr. Vaughn's findings with newly declassified historical documents. 1847. Mass disappearances in London coincide with unusual seismic activity. 1906. San Francisco earthquake linked to impossible tunnel systems found during rebuilding. 1945. Tokyo bombing surveys discover anomalous underground structures. 1987. Mexico City earthquake exposes vast tunnel network, quickly sealed and classified. Station Omega was built because they knew the creatures would return to this location. Dr. Vaughn and her team weren't just researchers, they were sentries, standing watch over humanity's greatest secret. Global impact assessment. Successful defense operations. Dr. Vaughn's tactical intelligence enabled effective response at 23 emergent sites worldwide. UVC light arrays deployed at all major breach points, causing creature retreat. Subsonic disruption fields established around population centers. Joint targeting protocols adopted by all military units. Total civilian casualties: 847, compared to projected 2.3 million without advance warning. Technological developments. Dr. Vaughn's research has accelerated development of deep Earth monitoring systems, biofrequency detection arrays, underground structural reinforcement protocols, emergency evacuation procedures for subterranean threats, ongoing monitoring. 47 new deep monitoring stations established globally, each staffed by teams trained in Dr. Vaughn's protocols. They know what they're watching for now. Memorial dedication from Sarah Vaughn's sister. Salira always said she wanted to make the world safer for future generations. She used to joke that she'd end up saving the world someday, probably while wearing a lab coat and arguing with bureaucrats about proper safety protocols. She wasn't wrong about the lab coat. At her funeral, well, the memorial service, since we never recovered her body, I read the last letter she sent me. She was excited about being a bridesmaid at my wedding. She'd already picked out her dress, but I understand why she stayed, why they all stayed. My children will grow up in a world where the monsters stay underground, where the darkness beneath our feet holds no terror. That's worth more than any wedding dress. Salira, if somehow you can hear this, thank you for the late-night phone calls, for the terrible jokes about cave-dwelling arthropods, for the promise you kept even when it cost you everything. You missed my wedding, but you saved my world. Dr. Vaughn's final words, audio enhancement. The following is the complete text of Dr. Vaughn's final transmission, enhanced through advanced audio processing to recover words lost to static and interference. To anyone listening, we are Dr. Alice Thorne, Communications Specialist, Systems Engineer Vera Sable, Security Chief Brevin Crow, Research Assistant Dareth Quill, and I am Dr. Salira Vaughn. We stood our ground. We bought you time. We, previously inaudible section recovered. Hope it was enough. Tell our families we weren't afraid at the end. Tell them we knew exactly what we were dying for. Tell them the monsters are real, but so are the people who stand against them. The light will keep them down. The frequencies will break their coordination. Target the joints. Remember the patterns. And watch the deep places, always watch the deep places. We seal the tunnels in 45 seconds. The knowledge survives. Our families survive. Our world survives. That has to be enough. That has to be. Transmission ends. Closing statement. Colonel Marcus Webb. Dr. Salira Vaughn and her team bought humanity time we desperately needed. Their sacrifice prevented a global catastrophe and gave us the tools to face this threat when it returns. Because it will return. Dr. Vaughn was right about that, but when it does, we'll be ready. Every deep monitoring station carries her research. Every emergency protocol bears her fingerprints. Every life saved in future encounters owes a debt to 5 people who chose duty over survival. Station Omega's mission continues through the Deep Earth Monitoring Division. We stand watch over the buried places. We listen for the sounds that shouldn't be there. We remember what lurks beneath, and we remember the voices that warned us from the dark. Dr. Salira Vaughn, xenobiologist, Emergency Response Coordinator. Dr. Alice Thorne, Communications Specialist. Vera Sable, Systems Engineer. Brevin Crow, Security Chief. Dareth Quill, Research Assistant. Heroes of the Deep Earth Defense. Kia in service to humanity. Their vigil ended. Ours begins. Final entry. Deep Earth Monitoring Division. Station Omega Memorial Archive sealed. Classification. Historical record. The monsters are still down there, sleeping in the deep places. But so is the echo of Dr. Vaughn's voice, warning us, guiding us, reminding us that some prices are worth paying. We keep watch. We remember. We stay ready. The depths are not empty, but neither are we defenseless. End of record.